when are we going to review that movie? It's Predestined.
I could confidently say that we were predestined to watch this.
I would say that's definitely your fault.
No, because we both picked the exact same type of movie.
If you're here from the primer episode, then you know that this is Jarvis's pick. If you're here from this episode and haven't watched the primer episode, watch that one too. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and you might be able to glean some of the similarities between the two, but
you'll already know some of the things we're going to say about this movie because we both picked a time travel movie that are, in our opinions, polar opposites.
Yes.
And we both actually agree on that.
Yes.
Which is rare.
It happens occasionally.
Podcast, which is nice sometimes.
Yeah.
I like having differentiating opinions, but
we were both primed and predestined to pick these movies at the same time.
Predestined. Very good.
I hope you're primed for another episode of Full Time Movie Fans. I am Jarvis. This is Michael.
Wow, an actual segue this time.
An actual segue.
That was good. He's getting good at this, guys.
Dude,
we got to watch out.
And when we start getting some money to like invest in graphics, I'm just going to put a little me on a segue across the stream. Like on a little actual.
Yeah. Just take a picture if you want to segue.
Exactly. Yeah. So and then we're gonna just roll that across the screen when I do my actual segues. So yes, this is another episode. We're here for movies again. We just wanna chat and hang out with you guys
Casually.
We
are not an authority on movies and how good or bad they are.
Yeah, we're not
contrary to popular belief.
A lot of people have been telling us how professional and like how serious we are as movie reviewers, and so we just want to
I'm not going to make a blog or anything that says
exactly.
Our 28 reasons why these movies are bad. No.
This is not.
We talk about
this is not that type of show. And I did see a comment on one of our videos saying like, "Hey, you should check out this to learn how to review movies." Maybe I'll just not do that.
Maybe you, viewer, should stop taking reviews so seriously and form your own opinions. How about that?
Yeah, we just want.
How about that?
We just want to have fun and hang out and
have opinions
and have like just a chill vibe. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. We're not here to break down every scene and like. There was actually somebody, you know who you are if you see this. You broke down like our whole video into like by timestamp and like you said this, I was like, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Like
holding us accountable for things that we say and then change our opinions on 5 seconds later.
Yeah, I know. I was excited to see that you cared that much. But also like we're just chill. Like we don't want to read from scripts.
It is an unscripted podcast.
Very
by design. We do. Here's the entire breakdown before we get into Predestination, which we are destined previously to review.
Yeah.
We watch a movie. Actually, I'll step back even further. We discuss what movies we should watch.
Yeah. Our elbows
then
are
we
touching,
watch.
I kinda like it.
Then we watch those movies, and then we show up. Having briefly talked about it like a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
Then we talk about the movies in a very specific format. We talk about our first impressions, we talk about the plot, and then we talk about some behind the scenes stuff, maybe some things we change.
And that's all the structure you're going to get.
And that's all you get.
Yeah.
By design, that's all you get. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you don't like that, there's like a bajillion other podcasts that probably do what you want. Yeah. We're just not that one.
We hope you'll hang out with us.
So you can go watch those about your serious reviews, and then you can come back to this one and talk and listen to me talk about why I think Predestination with Ethan Hawke was a little too hand-fisted.
Did you say ham-fisted?
Hand-fisted.
Oh, maybe I'm just
ham-fisted. Ham-fisted?
Yeah.
Do you want me to say ham-fisted?
Is that actually a saying, ham-fisted?
Depends on who you are.
Ham hands? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Wreck-It Ralph. Doesn't he call himself Old Ham Hands?
Yeah, he does.
See?
Ham-fisted is what he is.
Yeah.
Hand-fisted is what this movie is. So you went first last time talking about your first impressions. But
Did I introduce us already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
I said it was a good segue.
I should go back in time and remember.
That's why, because it was a good segue and you don't remember that.
Because I don't do good segues very often.
Yeah. So I'll do my impressions, and then you can do your impressions, just because it makes more sense this way around.
It's the thing.
So Jarvis said, "Hey, watch Predestination. Don't look anything up. Don't see anything." Because he didn't want me to ruin the twists and the spoilers.
The surprises, which we're going to be.
Which is fine. I think that was a really, really solid way of doing it. I did, and as I usually do, I watched this movie while playing like a little game. Not an intensive game like Elden Ring, but like Hearthstone in the background while I was playing the movie.
Not sponsored, by the way. No.
Fun game. Don't support Activision Blizzard. Wait till the merger completes. That's besides the point.
That's a really out of left field.
Yeah. If you know, you know. If you don't, just wait. I promise it's worth waiting. So I watched this movie sitting right there on my little screen, and quite literally, the first 2 scenes of the movie is somebody failing to stop a bomb being defused. The random, not-named, not shown person. And then they immediately go into a surgery to get facial reconstruction surgery.
Whatever it was explodes in their face, and their body catches on fire.
Yeah.
And then there is a person whose face we do see shows up.
Very slightly, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just kind of watching them this whole time.
Mm.
And then as that person is struggling to live.
Yeah, they kick over the little machine thing that we learn later is the time travel device.
Yeah, it looks like a violin case or something.
Yeah.
But it's the time travel device.
Yeah.
Kicks it over there to them. They do a time thing and disappear.
Yeah.
And then they wake up getting surgery.
Yeah, they're getting surgery. A doctor quite literally says, "You'll heal just fine, but you won't look the same or sound the same." And immediately I went, okay, so this person was whoever was trying to be stopped. Because it's a time travel movie already, and it's very, very like, you look different and sound different, and you won't recognize yourself. So, like, obviously that was it. Spoilers, by the way.
The doctor said it like 3 or 4 times in a row.
I think it was the first lines out of somebody's mouth was that. I think.
And if you watch your videos with subtitles, they were bold. And
it was actually, and also did not help that if you do watch the movie with subtitles, the main character doesn't have a name. He's the barkeep, and the other person who is a main character in this movie is the unmarried mother. Both don't have names. We'll get into that when we get into the plot. But like, if Primer was very like, you'll know this, you'll get this. This one was very, hey guys, in case you didn't catch it from the first words being spoken from this movie, here's what's going on.
It's that friend of yours that always tells that jokes a lot.
Yeah,
but they always wink at you like, hey, like, did you hear the thing? Did you hear the thing that I did?
Yeah,
and you know what? I can say that I agree with your take on it after seeing it multiple times. But what I did want to say was, as someone who's not quite as smart or has seen as many movies as you, at the time that I saw this, which was like maybe 7 years ago, when I first saw it, I had not been as acquainted with this type of thing.
You talking about the bootstrap paradox?
Yeah, okay, so the actual term for it, I was not as familiar, so I didn't catch it. I got to enjoy it as a ignorant person who was surprised by everything. So, anyways,
ham-fisted. This is one of like the last movie, Primer. You couldn't watch while doing something else.
No,
this one you could, because every like 5 minutes it reminds you and like gives you more insight as to what is happening and what's going on.
And to get our 2 takes, me as someone who's just, I'm a full-time movie fan for sure, but slightly, above average as far as casual movie going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that if you are a casual moviegoer and you don't know the fancy words that he was just spitting out, then you're going to like this movie and probably be surprised by it. If you are not and you've seen a lot of movies and you know what he just said, then you're going to see it coming from a mile away. But I would say, I don't know, watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see for yourself. But yeah, where Primer was a little bit too smart and kind of hurt your brain.
Yeah,
the steam comes out yours. This one's a little bit easier on the old,
which I don't think is a problem.
Right.
I just think that there's better ways around it to make it better.
Yeah.
This one also has the same problem with that I had with Primer, which like go watch. The main character doesn't get any actual character growth or development. But initial thoughts,
The character does change though, quite literally.
He physically changes.
Physically, literally,
multiple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should watch it. It's neat. It's an interesting take on a bootstrap paradox.
That's kinda neat.
Yeah. It does do a weird thing where it's like, this is a new thing. This is a predestination paradox. It's like, it's not. It's a bootstrap paradox. The definition of a bootstrap paradox, I don't know if I explained it on the phone.
No, but the only thing I know about bootstraps is that you're supposed to pick yourself up by them.
I don't know if that's the phrase that made bootstrap paradox the thing. I don't know where the phrase comes from.
Probably from someone's great
probably. Probably. But a bootstrap paradox is a paradox where you don't necessarily know where the beginning of the timeline happens.
Yeah.
It's like at some point the characters or the person placed in the paradox just exists, and they don't know how it ended up being in place because there's no way for them to have been there without already having been there.
Right, yes.
So that's what a bootstrap paradox is. That's what a predestination paradox is too, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's part of the movie thinks it's clever and like really, really cool, and it's like it thinks it's Primer, basically. And it's not. And there's nothing wrong with not being Primer. It's just when you think that you're Primer and you're sitting there going, hey guys, just so you don't think that there's a plot hole later, just know that this person's face is entirely different and their voice is entirely different. They don't recognize themselves, but they'll also recognize themselves later because they'll know what they looked like previously, but don't know what they look like now, so they don't know that they're in the thing yet.
Yeah, I think for me, as someone who didn't know about bootstraps and stuff like that, for me, I think what kind of helped was real quick, spoilers. But as someone who didn't know all that stuff, it was because I think they do show his face as he's watching himself. As he's watching the other person get blown up and caught on fire.
Yeah.
And then they do show his face.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, they do show his face, which is...
So after the surgery's done.
Ethan Hawke's face, because Ethan Hawke
So
is
after the surgery's done, he
sees
sees healed, he's like, oh, that was me, I get it.
Yeah, so then you see it, and you're like, oh, this is Ethan Hawke.
Which, I mean, if my face looked like Ethan Hawke's, I'd probably be a happier man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably jump on TikToks and fakes or whatever as him. But that being said, I think that's what, for me, I was like, oh, it's just this one guy. He's this, he's the main character.
Like any other story, each character is their own person. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so then something weird's going on where he was watching himself get blown up.
Yeah.
Which he was.
Yeah.
But there's more stuff. And so that's why I was duped.
I didn't even catch that.
I was duped.
Very ham-fisted.
Ham-fisted, yeah.
Back to the food analogies. Very good. Your favorites.
Always.
So that was, what were your first impressions besides
my first impressions were I really liked it. Like I watched it with a buddy of mine back when I used to live in a bachelor pad, like 3 or 4 other dudes. So rent was cheap. And so expensive these days.
True.
But
very true.
But yeah, it was him and I, and it was very. I think it's one of those things where it depends on who you watch movies with. Sometimes you kind of feed off their energy a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I think, but I think we were both very surprised, and we're both like, "Oh, this is crazy twists and like, man, the loop-de-loops that we were taking on, and like trying to figure out, like, it was for me, it was kind of like the first time I saw Deja Vu with Denzel Washington. I know you've seen that. Oh my! That's another time travel movie.
Oh God! Time travel month. We could do a whole month of time travel movies.
Time travel just for y'all. If you want it, put in the comments. Yeah. But give us a little break. We'll do it eventually, maybe.
I'm a bit timed out.
From Out of Time, the movie.
Ugh.
Justin Timberlake.
Why don't we just do Jumper? You know Jumper?
Yeah.
I loved that movie as a young boy.
But we've grown up since then because time has passed on.
That was a bad movie.
Time has passed, and so speaking of time, for my first impressions way back when, 7 or 8 years ago, however,
2014 was when it came out.
So
10 years.
So it was probably a few years after that though. I watched it, maybe 16 or 17.
Okay. I graduated high school.
I liked it. I thought it was the twists were new and fresh to me, and I was surprised by them, and so it felt like a very good movie. I was like, wow, this movie might be the greatest movie in the history of movies at that time.
Yeah.
And this was way before Everything Everywhere All at Once. So.
Right. Which is the actual Predestination.
Yeah. So, and that doesn't deal with time travel necessarily. So, you could argue.
Debatable.
You could argue it. Yeah. But first impressions, dude, I liked it a lot. I still do. Like it because I like rewatching it and seeing all the little winks at the camera that I didn't pick up on before.
I don't know if there were little winks more as they were. Things are happening, and this is the end of the movie. How do we get there? Because this is the end of the movie. And you, other character, who is also myself, how are you going to get there? A little less than a wink.
Yeah, well, for me, it was a wink at the time. But now, I can obviously, as I've seen more movies and as time has passed, I've grown. And
have you been caught victim as one of those, as the classic guy trope of somebody giving you a hint and you just like completely missing it?
So here's what it is for me. Like, if the story is interesting enough, I'm not really using any brain power to try to figure.
Oh, you're just along for the ride.
Yes.
Okay.
If the story's interesting enough,
that's fine.
And for me,
I think that's good.
If I find myself overthinking a movie or trying to make sense of something, not all the time, but sometimes that's an indicator for me and my brain and as a person that maybe the movie is not that great. If I'm having to like spend a lot of time trying to rectify something, but like if the story's good enough and I'm just engrossed in the story and like waiting to see the next minute to pass, and like for me, I like that, and I felt like this was that type of movie. Could I, if I was really putting more brain power to it, figure it out? Maybe, but it was one of those things that I was just engrossed in what was happening in the moment that I wasn't taken out of the story enough to be like, oh, well, this is what. And I know some people like yourself and other people that I know have seen a lot more movies, know a lot more of these types of tropes and things like that. Their brain just automatically connects them to, oh, this is the last time I saw something. Which my brain does that now a lot more. That I've seen more movies since then. But yeah, in that moment, I was missing the hints. I was missing them because I was just like I said, I was just like living in the moment.
How's this for an analogy? You got two kinds of movies.
Okay.
There's more than two, but for the sake of argument, you got two kinds of movies.
Okay.
Ready? You got roller coasters.
Okay.
And you have escape rooms.
Okay.
One of them you're a passenger in. It's going to happen regardless, right?
Okay.
The other one, you're an active participant in.
Yeah.
You got to think about.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that your brain's tuned to being along for the ride.
Yes.
While mine's more tuned for being a part of it.
Yes. Well, yes.
Try to figure it out.
Absolutely. Because you actually like want to create movies and you have, you are a director and, so, tips his hat. And so, I think that's just a difference in someone who just enjoys movies and wants to watch them versus maybe someone who wants to create them. I don't really want to create movies. I do enjoy stories. I enjoy telling stories. In fact, if you haven't already, brought this up several times, we recently, which maybe 2-3 weeks ago, by the time you're watching this, did our review of The Last Jedi. I don't know if you saw my comment, but I literally rewrote The Rise of Skywalker. for somebody because I was like, I'm gonna prove to you that JJ was lazy and didn't try because I'm gonna rewrite it here in the comment section. I don't know if you saw that comment, but
the dead speak. That's all. That's all you ever need to say.
So yes, that's honestly,
yeah. Well, I don't think
analogy.
it's necessarily like a filmmaker versus a casual moviegoer. I think it's just the kind of movies that you prefer to go towards.
Yeah.
You have escapism movies, and I have big thinkers going to change my life movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And those are
movies
what
are
we lean towards. You would much rather watch a couple of movies to not think about your everyday life, and I would rather watch a couple of movies that make me go, man, what am I doing with it?
Dude, yes. See,
is that it?
Explains, yes, that perfectly explains our way different reactions to game night. Because I just wanted to just sit and just turn my brain off and laugh at the funny things, and
I got nothing out of it.
Yeah, and you were just like, "This is dumb,"
and it was,
but funny.
Debatable.
Okay, that's the difference. That's the difference. You very, very perfectly explained. So continue. I think you.
So let's talk about this story.
Wait, we didn't talk about your first impression.
Yeah, we did it first.
Okay, we did first.
Yeah, it was predestined.
Yeah.
So the story. And unlike Primer, I got this one locked down. This one's really easy. The story, the main A story, is about finding this random, what did they call them? It's a bomb, some terrorist, the Fizzle Bomber.
I feel like that's kind of like
to prevent a bombing that happened. Right? Well, no, that's the very start too. There's a bomb going off in Grand Central Station.
Well, is it the bomb that blows up in his face?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's right.
Happens in 1975, but for some reason, whenever they go back into 1975, they can't prevent it from happening. Whatever time agency the government has that came from the Space Force of 2014.
Which was extremely advanced, apparently.
Apparently extremely advanced to have a time device in a violin case for some reason. Yeah. To which... Short gripe, real quick.
Okay.
They introduce Ethan Hawke's character as the violinist, but his script name is the barkeep. So what's that about?
I don't know. Let's ask the director.
Let's ask the director. Director Michael Spierig. Spierig.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, guy, what's that about? Reach out. Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Come on the podcast.
What's going on there? Is he the violinist or is he the barkeep? Or is he actually the...
Michael would like to talk to you about how to properly write a movie.
Just to put more subtleties in there, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It works. You were right. It puts itself in a nice little box, story. But it's not subtle at all. Yeah. Like I said, the beginnings, the violinist maybe. The beginning, trying to stop the bomb, and then the bomb goes off, burns their face, and then somebody else kicks the case towards them, and they go back in time, or to the future, or whatever.
Yeah, and
Back to the Future.
And the movie seemingly jumps from Ethan Hawke's character, the barkeep, to some random orphan girl.
Yeah, well, that's after the face gets reconstructed,
right,
and heals.
So that's what I'm saying. It goes from that.
Yeah. So we start out. We start out with this weird, like, sci-fi-ish, like, well, all of this stuff is happening, and then like he just ends up in a bar as a barkeeper. It's like, yeah, it's my first day.
Yeah.
And this man at the bar, who does not sound like a man,
kind of looks like one,
is like, oh, I write stories under the pseudonym the Unmarried Mother or something. Yeah, as the Unmarried Mother.
Yeah, I mean they try to have, the barkeep tries to have, small talk, and the Unmarried Mother is like not really having it.
Yeah.
Kind of very sharp and like
the Unmarried Mother is very upset. Like aggressive and is like, you want a good story? I'll tell you a good story.
Oh,
it
so
goes
cocky
through,
too.
Yeah.
I've got the best story.
It goes through their life story.
We don't know that yet. We don't know it's their life story yet.
Yeah, it is, because it's them talking about all the things that happened to them up to that point.
Well, it's not their. We don't know that it's their shared life story yet. Except you did. I didn't.
Well, I said there as like a progressive, not giving them.
Oh, gotcha. I missed it because
my apologies.
I'm old and stuck in my old ways.
Yeah.
understanding words.
So he talks about his life story,
right,
where he was born a woman,
yes,
grew up in an orphanage, never got adopted,
was always kind of
very smart.
Yes, and a lot stronger than the other girls.
Yeah, and never
Felt like they fit in.
never dated, never did anything. Ended up wanting to work with not NASA, but government agency about space.
Yeah,
not NASA.
They kind of came in, and I guess they heard about her. Someone recommended her as like,
Yeah,
hey, interview this person.
And so they were like, sure, we'll bring her in, and then
she was like, yeah, I want to do something that matters.
Yeah, met some mystery man in the course of trying to be a part of this weird program for women.
Clandestine.
Yeah,
type.
this man that she cannot remember his face, his voice, or anything else. Subtleties, because that doesn't ring any alarms in my brain. And gets pregnant by this man that she cannot remember for some reason.
Well, wait. Before that, though, she goes through a bunch of training.
Yeah. I feel like you're missing some of the things I'm saying.
Maybe
I'm saying them.
No, I felt like you jumped through.
Yeah,
time.
I said she was part of this program, and she was training to be a part of it. And
you're talking about the man that she got pregnant with. But like, what I was trying to say was that I feel like there was a lot of like her going through a bunch of like interviews, training with these other women, and kind of she makes it to a point where she gets into a physical fight with another girl.
Yeah, and they get kicked out of the program.
Well, she had to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And when they treated her medically,
yeah, you're right. Well, that's when we learned that she was pregnant.
Well, no, that's
is pregnant.
No,
was pregnant. Something happens there.
No,
they're like, you're pregnant, or you were pregnant when you had the baby.
I don't know. I forget.
I don't think the fight is what caused her to go to the hospital. I think she had to go to the hospital, and they were like, "Yeah, you had a baby." And she woke up randomly. And they were like, "Yeah, we had to get the baby out, but the baby's fine. And also, by the way, you have both sets of genitals.
She had
and
both parts. She was back in both parts.
The getting the baby out tore up so much that we have to turn you into a man now.
Yeah,
for some medical reason.
They had to remove. They had to basically do a hysterectomy. All the lady parts.
Yeah.
All that's left were male parts.
Yeah. Yes. Correct. You are correct in the way. Which also doesn't ring any alarm bells, thematically. I'm leaving the spoiler part for later, just so you know.
All right.
But it rings a lot of alarm bells. Yeah. And so all of the surgery happens. She's now a man, goes by the name John.
But it
was Jane before, but now it's John.
So Jane and John Doe, because when she was delivered to the orphanage,
she didn't have a name.
She didn't have a name. They just called her Jane.
Yeah, they just called her Jane. And then changed it to John because very original. And then the baby, who doesn't have a name, that gets kidnapped after all the surgeries were completed.
Yeah, because the baby
just disappears.
Born, and then was in.
Which also doesn't give off any alarm bells that they can't find the baby no matter what. Just disappeared off the face of the earth. And so this unmarried mother goes through a bunch of hardships, tries to find jobs, goes and works for that agency. Or tries to go and work for that agency again, but they said no.
Yeah.
Worked as a fry cook.
Started to enjoy being
just a person.
A man?
Yeah.
Like getting attention from the ladies?
Yeah. And then as the story ends, we get the other big red alarm bell that should be ringing off in your head when you hear it, that the surgery was apparently so successful that he is now fertile, which does not happen, I don't think, normally. Pretty chill.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor either. I just don't. I could be wrong, But that one was also like that's weird. I don't see how that's possible, but okay, I guess.
I mean, I don't know all the things that go into being born with both parts and being able to choose one. I think so. They just said that with all the treatment, the testosterone treatment, and other stuff, that now he was fertile.
So Ethan Hawke is a bit smug now, and it's like, well, I'm trying to find this guy trying to bomb a place. You're trying to find somebody who stole your baby. What if they're the same person? Yeah. What if I told you I could guarantee that you'd catch that person?
Yeah, that's that really obvious wink at the camera. With sirens and
big alarm bells. There's like 4 or 5 fire trucks coming down the street on that one.
Yeah, they're all yelling at you specifically about this one thing.
Yeah, just me. And so Ethan Hawke's like, here, come with me, random person. Let me take you to my secret basement where I keep my time travel device.
Well, yeah, he was at because so the actor
is she playing
Sarah Snook and Ethan Hawke,
who we now know as John, the unmarried mother.
One of the things that happens is he very smugly says, "Now tell me that's not the best story you've ever heard," and then he's kind of like, it's all right, and then he to himself said, "What do you mean it's just okay?" Like. And he's like, "Follow me into this stranger into this dark basement.
If you want to find out,
I'll show you something.
If you want to catch the guy who took your kid, I think we'll."
Well,
and then they said, "How can you be so sure?" And he said, "Because I have a feeling that they're the same person."
Well, it wasn't. So he wasn't upset that the baby was stolen. He was upset that his heart got broken by that person and ruined his life. Basically,
yeah. He wanted to catch the person.
Got him pregnant when he was
a woman
her, and then just
I promise this movie does not do a good job of more sensitive subjects. It's just Ian, this is happening now. And you're just like, okay,
I tracked with it though.
It makes sense. It's just like
it's hard to use your words to explain
weird. Sybil said, hearing us describe it feels like we're going to get canceled, which it kind of tracks.
I mean, watch the movie. You decide for yourself.
It's the movie, not us. I'm going to be real honest. Like, I am giving you the information as it was given to us.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's weird and
but
a bit off.
I guess it could be like quoting someone who can say the N-word. But saying it yourself as not.
Maybe don't make that argument right now. Maybe we don't make this argument.
I'm just quoting them.
Maybe we don't.
No. But
I just love listening to rap in my car.
I do.
I get very into it.
And so the motivation is that person, that man, swept me off my feet, got me pregnant,
and just
disappeared. Quite literally.
And
ruined my
John
life.
believes that would also be the person who stole the kid, which is. I mean, I don't
remember that.
Correct.
Part, but
it was a one-off line.
Okay, and so
the only person I think that could steal the kid would be him.
And so because of how he disappeared. So the barkeep, Ethan Hawke, is saying like
introduces John to time travel. I guess.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if I could put you in front of this person, would you kill them if you could get away with it?
I said yes,
absolutely, without a doubt. I will 100% murder this person.
But how can you be so sure? It's like. Just a feeling.
Yeah, which is also just like
guaranteed feeling. Yeah. So they go back in time.
Yeah, and you start to see because there's some specific things mentioned. Oh, when I met this guy, he was rich. He had all kinds of money in his pocket.
Yeah.
He knew, literature and poems and stuff and quoted
things that only I have ever known.
Yeah. And stuff like that. Like said the things that, and so when he introduces himself that we know in the future. Well, you knew right off the bat, which I didn't. So I guess I'm just speaking for me. Is that
there's a bunch of people?
Yeah, he introduces
that also like roller coasters.
Yeah, he introduces John to time travel. Mm-hmm. As soon as they time travel, he gives John a big wad of cash.
Yeah,
and says, "Hey, this is where you're gonna be at this place.
This is from my employer. Use it for whatever. They don't care. If you need more, let me know.
Yeah, and then you're gonna meet this person at this time."
Mm-hmm.
Take it away.
And that person at that time was her from the past. Oh my goodness! And they hit it off really easily, and it's like crazy because oh my god, who could have seen that coming?
Obviously, she swept herself off
yeah,
her feet
obviously.
because she knows how she was thinking in that
And
moment.
she's definitely not weirded out by herself being attracted to herself, but knowing that that's what's happening now.
The only man to be able to completely, fully understand a woman's mind in the moment.
Yeah, the female gaze, if you will, is just themselves. My wife's nodding her head. And so they hit it off and whatever, and there comes a point at which she's gonna have to disappear out of her life after getting her pregnant.
Yeah,
which is also weird.
They start. I guess. I mean,
and so
guess
John
in the timeline, you just have to call it a fling because it wasn't. I don't feel like
it was a fling. Yeah,
but in reality, you could say that they had a relationship.
Yeah,
and so at least that's how it felt to both.
John shows back up to Ethan Hawke and is like, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah,
it's like and makes the joke is like, "Oh, you have no idea."
Oh yeah. That's one of many lines that's just like,
yes, you have no idea.
Oh yeah, something like, "Oh, my own mother wouldn't recognize my face," and he was literally staring into his mother's eyes, which was his own eyes.
Yeah.
And then
spoilers, by the way.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
If you haven't caught on by now, they're all the same person.
Yeah. And so there was something else too. I forget that.
There's one more spoiler, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, that he said, but that was one of those. Is like, oh,
sorry, two more spoilers. I already said one though, but
yeah. So basically, so Barkeep shows up and says, "Hey, you've got to go now."
Yeah,
and
they're like, "No, I'm not leaving her." So you already did.
Yeah, well, and that was sorry, I forgot, and I was just trying to fill the space till I remembered, and I just now remembered. So there was something that that John said in the bar at the table. So going back a little bit, John said, "I don't even remember how I looked back then."
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
It shows up as like, you are the most beautiful, and somebody should have told you that.
So when he saw himself as a female, he was like, wow, I didn't know that you were that beautiful.
Yeah. Crazy charisma.
which she
had never been told
had
that.
Never felt that or been told that before. So you could obviously, as well as with, obviously they have the same interests and same thoughts. So
that's all it takes, by the way, fellas.
Yeah.
Just tell her she's beautiful once. That's all it takes.
And read her mind all the time. And always say the right things and never do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And you will have her heart forever.
Forever. She might not even remember your face.
Yeah.
But you'll have her heart forever.
Yeah. So that was a thing that I wanted to mention, is that was also one of those like lines that was thrown in.
Yeah, it was
like,
a little one-off line.
Is that John said, I don't even remember what I look like. And so that kind of helps play into the,
So Ethan Hawke takes John to the place.
Yeah, well, yeah. So basically,
John and Jane are on a CIA or whatever.
Well, John and Jane are on a park bench and they're talking. And then Barkeep shows up and says, "Hey, we need to talk."
Yeah,
and
we gotta go.
Yeah, and he says, "Hey, I'll be right back." Mm-hmm. You know,
the last thing that was told before. Yeah,
makes all kinds of crazy promises.
Yeah,
I'll be with you forever, and then
classic man move.
Yeah, classic male making promises he can't keep, and then so
learns that he's fertile one day, and then starts making promises he can't keep.
I know, gets a girl pregnant, and then just up and leaves.
Do it.
Classic male.
Yep.
And so yeah, so Barkeep shows up and says, like, we really have to go, like, right now. No, I'm not leaving here. I'm never. Well, yeah, we are.
You already did.
Yeah, it's too late. It already happened. So
yeah,
the loop must continue. And so then they leave, and then
it ends up at the government agency for time travel, and just leaves him there to basically get trained by them, because they're the same person. While that's happening, Barkeep Ethan Hawke goes and steals the baby.
Yeah, he goes to the hospital,
sets the baby on sets the baby on a little journey, sends him off to the orphanage. We learn that they're all the same person.
Yeah.
Mother, son, mother, daughter, father, Ethan Hawke, all the same.
Yeah.
All the same
mother,
person.
Father, daughter. They're all one and the same person.
And
Crazy.
where we hear the government guy tell Ethan Hawke that he's the perfect person for the job because he's the only person that lives as a predestination paradox
and is outside of time, so they can't.
Yeah, so there's no way to.
So they cannot, like a normal person, like in Primer, could affect the timeline and change things.
Yeah.
This person cannot. They can do work and not change anything that's supposed to be what it is.
Yeah, which makes them the perfect person for the job, which is why John had to go at that time to go be trained so that it continues the cycle properly, because he's already in the cycle. Ethan Hawke gets a little weirded out. He's like, but after my job's done, what do I do? What does my future look like? And they're like, well, I mean, it's technically already predetermined, but that's for you to find out, I guess. And so Ethan Hawke goes into retirement, and his time machine's supposed to stop working, but it doesn't.
Yeah, and because of the amount of time travel does mess with your body and your brain.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, so he has to retire at a certain point,
which we know is true from watching Primer. When after going through the past and forward, their ears started bleeding and all this other stuff. So
they were living.
It's true.
36-hour days.
Yeah, it's accurate.
Yeah.
According to Primer.
Mm-hmm. So Ethan Hawke, after his device gets decommissioned and then it actually doesn't get decommissioned, what does he do? He continues to do stuff because who wouldn't? Because that's all he ever is known to do. You know, he sets himself up for retirement, but he sets himself up for retirement the day of the explosion. And I thought that was a neat thing because I'll give it to the movie for that one. It was neat because if he had done his job correctly, he can live knowing that it was done correctly.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, he's gone.
Yep.
Which I thought was neat. I thought it was a neat little thing. It's like an earned retirement at that point.
Yeah.
But they were getting onto some clues about like the trigger device and where everything was bought and where the person does the fizzle bomber does their laundry.
Yeah.
And Ethan Hawke sat there and was like, I know I'm retired, but what if I just went?
Did we already talk about the lines where they claimed that each other was a fizzle bomber?
No, but that did happen. It's like, well, what if you're the fizzle bomber?
Yeah, because
I don't know. What if you are?
Before John was introduced to time travel, they talked about the fizzle bomber name. They're like, oh, I don't like that name, and then John was kind of like, well, I would blah blah blah, and then
how do we know you're not the fizzle bomber?
Yeah, and then
how do I know you're not?
Like, are you the fizzle bomber? And then John was like, no, maybe you are. Yeah, it's just like another one of those lines that like when you rewatch it, and if you were oblivious like I was, that's one of those ones that you pick up on the second rewatch. Yeah. And you're like, oh my gosh, of course, they're both a fizzle bomber.
It's supposed to come off, and I believe with all my heart that the writer-director wanted those lines to come across as clever.
To me, they were.
They're cute.
Yeah.
They're cute.
Yeah.
They're fun when you do a second watch, and you're like, oh, haha, yeah.
For me.
I get it. It's
funny. Not catching it the first time. The second watch was like, oh my gosh, I wish telling me the whole time.
I wouldn't say the dialogue is clever. I just think it's cute. I don't think it is clever. I just think
I'll take cute.
Yeah. Good.
Nothing wrong with cuteness.
No.
Some would prefer it, actually.
Anyways, the last bit of the movie is where I honestly have the biggest problem with the narrative plot. But
yes.
Ethan Hawke shows up to the laundromat, and oh my God, the fizzle bomber! Who would have guessed? It's him.
Wait, there's a whole other thing where he meets somebody and gets married.
Does he get married? I thought he just meets her.
I don't know. I think they get married. The typewriter lady.
I think you're inserting yourself into that one there.
No.
You wanted to marry the typewriter lady.
Well, she was cute.
She shows up as to show. Okay. She shows up as like a he could just live a normal life if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And then he shows up to the laundromat, and it's himself there, and he goes, "Ha! I'm the Fizzle Bomber. If you were, we could, yeah, we could do this together and never have a problem ever again." And Ethan Hawke goes, "No, I'll never do that. You ruined my life." And he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Go back to the typewriter lady, get married, have a couple of kids, and live a fucking life? Yeah, good luck with that, pal."
Yeah, because he knows it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and Ethan Hawke,
because he's further in the future than Barkeep.
Yeah, and Ethan Hawke's like, "No, I'll never become you." Bang.
Shoot him.
And
Shoots him dead.
That's the movie.
Yeah, that's the movie. Sure enough, his path continues to be the Fizzle Bomber.
Yeah.
He just takes his place.
That's my biggest problem. My biggest problem with the movie is that if you have a bootstrap paradox, you got to do something with it, dude. You can't just be like, "Yep, and you're always destined to live in this cycle forever." It's not interesting narratively to do that.
Well, I mean, but you can't break it because then it's not the loop anymore.
Well, that's kind of the point of having a bootstrap paradox in a movie, is to give the character an opportunity to break out of it or come to terms with the fact that that's what they're always going to be.
I guess, but I think that's one of those things where if that's your expectations, congratulations, subverted. Just like The Last Jedi.
But we're back to this problem, Jarvis. What's the point of the movie if there's no conclusion, if there's no growth, if there's no change? It's the same problem with Primer.
Well, I would just say that it's sometimes about the journey and not the destination or the predestination.
I saw it coming. I could hear it.
Come on.
I could hear it yesterday.
I'm bringing you gold. Oh my gosh. That was good.
It's a little wink to the camera right there.
So that's the thing, is like this is a movie. I mean, like, so here's what I think. I think that there's a lot of good things that you can take structurally that make a good movie. But like, I think sometimes you can make a movie that doesn't follow the rules and can still be good. You know what I mean? And I feel like...
I mean, yeah, we just talked about one.
Yeah, Predestination.
Yeah.
We're still talking about it. I'm just kidding. But I think that this is one of those movies where it's not necessarily... It is about the journey. I was being serious about that line. It is about the journey, not necessarily the destination. It's just we are experiencing this loop
in its entirety.
From start to finish to beginning.
Yeah,
because that's
okay.
That's what it is. I mean, I don't know. I definitely understand your perspective.
It feels more like a plot device being the main character rather than the characters being the main character.
Sure.
Which,
I'll give you that.
I also have like a fundamental problem with, because if you're gonna have characters in the movie, why not use them for their purpose instead of as a set piece?
Well, their purpose was just to create themselves,
I guess,
and be their own mother and father.
I guess, but like,
which is so weird.
But I don't attach myself to any of the characters. Which also is the problem with Primer, is that how do you get attached to either of the characters if there's nothing going on with them? What's the fatal flaw of the person?
I was attached to John and Jane.
How?
I really felt for him. You know, I mean, because it's their feelings, like, of not. I think we can all relate to the feelings of not feeling like they belong, feeling like an outcast in some ways, not feeling like in on what society says is normal to certain degrees. You know, obviously not to, but like a life full of hardship and then just looking for answers. I mean, for the time that John was trying to figure out life as a man, working as a freaking fry cook, like, we've all been a fry cook in our lives once. Not literally, because I haven't.
Metaphorical fry cooks.
Yeah, we've all been metaphorical fry cooks, but that's the thing, and like just being, you know, pulled in like every which direction. I mean, how many times can you have your world flipped upside down? Apparently, this person is in an infinite loop of having their life flipped upside down. And in the end, it pays a great toll and causes a lot of chaos. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's my perspective on this movie, it's like it's like when you hear a bunch of people, I'm sure this happened, you hear a bunch of people talking about how great a movie is, and they saw it when it was new. You did not see it when you saw it many, many years later. And you were just like, wow, this is not great.
I have actually coined a term for that exact thing.
Okay, you're about to hear it.
It's the Avatar effect.
Okay. Explain.
Did you watch the original Avatar movie in theaters?
Oh, I didn't know if you were talking about that.
No, not The Last Airbender.
Because that's
the
phenomenal
blue,
and
the
it's
blue
timeless
people.
and it'll never be.
Oh,
bad.
absolutely. You're absolutely
yes,
correct.
Avatar,
One of the best pieces of media of all time right there.
Yeah. Oh,
the Blue People Avatar, did you see it in theaters?
Yes.
And have you watched it again since?
Yes.
Very different movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you missed the opportunity to watch Avatar in the theaters, I don't think I've ever heard somebody who's only had that experience and they liked the movie. But everybody who saw that movie in theaters liked that movie.
Okay, so then that's
including me.
So that's what I'm saying.
That's exactly That's
the exact.
It's the Avatar effect.
The time and place, the place in time.
Yeah.
That I watched the movie.
Yeah.
Was it my mindset and my brain was in such a place where it was very new and fresh, so I will always remember it.
Yeah. And so that's what you said about game night too.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we established early, or in this timeline, at the beginning of this episode, that's because movies are like an escape for me. Yeah. I want to just be taken into the world of the movie, and if it succeeds in capturing my immediate attention,
then you're in.
Then I'm in, and I was in on Predestination.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And to your point, I'm glad that they spent so much time and effort talking about how our main character doesn't feel like they belong, just to give them a place to exist permanently.
Yeah, they found
to belong in.
So that's
that
to tell you
that time.
That everybody has a purpose,
even if it's to not have a purpose.
Forever.
Forever. To burden themselves. Look, I guess my big problem with this whole thing is that there was something like cooking up there that was very poetic and very deep and very
I see what you're
philosophical.
Saying. So you feel like there was something greater in the story that was
and
missed.
Instead it wasn't that neat at the end. Instead of being like wrap the whole thing in a bow. Are we all like feeling like we're pushing against ourselves and fighting against ourselves to get where we want to be just to end up where we don't? Sure. Absolutely. And is there something to be said about that? Sure. Absolutely. And was it said here? A little bit, but not really.
Yeah.
Because it was eclipsed by a bunch of weird plot devices and twists that weren't super necessary and didn't need to be placed where they were, but they decided, hey, it's neat to do it like this instead of focusing on the character and giving that character the purpose that they so badly wanted. Yeah. And instead destined them to an entire eternity of fucking with themselves. Literally and figuratively.
Let me ask you a quick question then.
Okay.
What other movie have you seen that is like this movie?
Like a Bootstrap Paradox type
I
movie?
mean, that you would say, hey, this movie is not just that trope, I guess, or that storytelling device, but like
has the same
would
problems.
You say like, man, like for instance, I would say that that The Equalizer with Denzel Washington and Taken are just like Man on Fire, except not as good.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, what other movie have you seen that you would compare it to in that kind of way?
No, it's not Looper. Thank you for that though.
Yeah, you'll have to watch Predestination and see for yourself. But I mean, now you know the whole story, so
that's a good question.
Okay, so
I don't watch a lot of time travel movies.
Okay, so here's the point I'm trying to make: is that
I can't say I don't think that any time travel movie's done it right yet, except for maybe Back to the Future, but that's more like a spectacle than it is a. I guess this was a spectacle too, but the characters do something in those movies rather than just exist.
And I think that's one of those situations that when you watch that, it's kind of like early, first of its kind type of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, this is kind of the gold standard because this is the one that's very well done and well beloved.
But I don't think it does the same thing in time travel.
Right.
I feel like this fits more in like the like a fish out of water category. Do you know the term?
No.
It's a genre of movie where the main character is trying to find purpose, trying to find their place in the world, and so they're placed outside of their comfort zone to find their purpose. But it's not really a fish out of water story because they're perfectly where they need to be at all times.
Yeah,
which makes it interesting. So I guess a better version of that would be, and this is going to sound way off base, but for the same like internal problem, I think a movie that does it very well is Lady Bird.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
That's one that I have not seen yet.
Okay.
But I know I've heard
So Lady Bird is the story of this young woman who has problems with her mom, trying to figure out who she is as like a young teenager.
Yeah.
And fighting against like everything that her mom wants her to be because she's not her mom, essentially.
Wow, that is pretty much the same.
And then ends up and the movie ends up being with being her going out and trying to figure out who she is as a person and failing a couple of times, and then ending up conceding on some parts of who she can't control of herself and changing the things about her that she wants to change.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's similarities
It feels like a better like wrap up the character in an entire thing. I feel like this movie would have been better if Ethan Hawke would have accepted the loop instead of tried to fight against it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That last moment is not him killing himself for the sake of the spectacle, but him getting an actual like the ending feels a bit too rushed, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is that he goes from like I'm retired now to I'm also the fizzle bomber to very quickly, and there could have been a span of time where it's like, hey, maybe I am wrong. Yeah. Maybe there are things that I do need to have better control over that they wouldn't let me have.
Yeah, I think it also paints a good picture of just normal reality and humanity that live outside of this loop that he's in. Mm-hmm. Is that we continue as a society and as people on an individual level and on a larger scale level to make the same mistakes over and over and repeat history. Mm-hmm. And no matter whether we try to fight against it or what have you, we usually end up in the same place as we don't want to be because we try so hard to do it. I would say that's a story for a lot of people, and that's a story for a lot of societies. Societies grow and then they crumble over time due to the same things that happen over and over. And so I would say that his journey reflects what we're all trying to do, is fight against what we know is bad. But sometimes when we spend so much focus on it, it's like, what's it called? Where you speak your reality into existence. And I've experienced this.
Manifesting.
Where I've experienced this, where I've tried so hard not to do something that without knowing I have become the thing. I've done the things that
people do that with their parents all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I'm saying.
I'll never become my father, and then they do exactly that.
Well, I mean, in this case, she literally became her father.
Wow, the metaphors, they just keep on dragging each other into it.
It could be deeper than what we initially see. Like, if we want to look at it as a story about humanity and society, then it could have those deep undertones that like he was literally blowing up things and killing people. Mm-hmm. Like we can sometimes potentially, unintentionally create the bombs that are going to blow up later in our life. Yeah. And that has to do with the decisions that we make. Like, for instance, my knee is really bad, and that's because, and
that's the second time you brought it up today.
I know, because it's actually hurting today. I literally on my way over here, walking down the steps, I was like, oh man, this knee. But that's why it's fresh on my brain. But it also plays into what we're talking about because of I was at a young adult thing with other people my age, and I was in one of those inflatable balls, and you just run into each other and knock each other over. And I was lost balance, tried to catch myself, and then felt a pop in my knee, and immediately went down. And because of that, I struggle to this very day. And so that's what I think is like, we could potentially unintentionally be our own worst enemy and be the thing that we don't want to be, and we're constantly fighting ourselves, not knowing that that's who we're fighting. Sometimes the villain is in the mirror, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying.
But then you have to reconcile with that. And we didn't get the reconciliation.
I mean, in the moment, he was like, I don't want to be like you, and he turned into that. Yeah. I mean, but I would argue sometimes that's true for us. Not all of us get reconciliation or redemption. Some people.
But what's the point of the story?
Maybe it's just
to tell you that you do this with your life.
Maybe it's just a commentary on like, or a warning as to like, if we don't find a way to break the cycle, then we will repeat it over and over as a society, as a person. And if you are aware that this is a problem that we have as individuals in the society, then maybe we need to be extra vigilant in making sure we don't repeat the cycle with the next generation, etc. So now that you know that, that's what you can take with you. How was that for deep analysis? Sorry. I don't know where that came from. My bad. But I mean, I'm just saying.
It's a little bit of your father coming out.
Oh, how dare you, son of a... Oh, I had a sock you right in the jaw. But that's what I'm saying is like, it depends on how deeply you want to look at it, because to be honest with you, before this interaction, literally right now, because that's how I think through things, is by talking with someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I never thought that this movie had deeper connotations, but it could, and I think those are all very relevant and valid things that I
feel like they had like 5 or 6 of them that they were trying to get to, but they just kind of cut them off there at the end without really like giving you the rest.
It's a story about the journey, not the predestination.
Yeah, and there's another thing.
That's my stance on it. Is that it's a story that's told so that we can reflect on it and try to learn something from it, not necessarily because the character didn't learn from it. Because there's a lot of ways you can learn, right? You can learn from your own mistakes. You can learn from other people's. And I think this is one of those ones where the person that we're observing wasn't able to overcome theirs. So we can learn from their mistakes or the things that they didn't do. That's my thing.
But the bootstrap paradox is saying that there's no way to get out of it. There's another story principle that I actually had a hard time with when I was starting out in writing things. Is I used to believe that there was no need for a conclusion, and the conclusion is not like you have like the climax of the story and then everything settles.
Yeah.
It's the things that happen after everything settles. It's the term is the new world.
Mm.
It's where the main character of your story. Yeah, sometimes it is a whole new world, a dazzling place that they never knew. And they place the main character outside of all of the things that have happened into life. Hours, weeks, days, months, years later.
Yeah,
and having them changed by the story. Usually it's like they place them right back at the beginning of the story, but with a new, fresh set of eyes after their experiences, and they get to see something. And this, I feel like, lacks a new world.
Yeah, I feel you.
And so we don't get to see what happened with the changes.
So you would have liked to have seen Barkeep for continuity's sake.
I would like to see Barkeep 2.0. I actually think that what should have happened is that he shows back up at the end with the Fizzle Bomber. He is the Fizzle Bomber, right?
Right.
And he is the one that kicks the violin case back to himself. I think that would have been an okay enough ending for me.
Oh,
but because we're missing that little bit of like acknowledgement of that's what's going to happen, it's left there.
Yeah. No.
Just a little extra scene.
Sure.
It's like, yes, it continues.
Sometimes all you need is just a little
I'm
bit.
fine there.
Not a lot.
Sometimes.
Just a little bit.
And it might have done it for me there. I don't know.
Put in the comments if you got that reference. It's from a
song.
song.
Put in the comments.
It's from a song.
Put in the comments. All right, well.
All right, it's that time.
Yeah,
we're at time, dude. We are out of time, which is another movie. That I don't think.
What's that one with Justin Timberlake?
Yeah, In Time.
Is that it?
I think
In Time?
In Time,
yeah,
or something about time.
Awful, awful movie.
Yeah. So,
what happens to inflation in that movie?
Oh man, it's so bad. It's our current. It's our future. Time is currency.
Talk about a
literally
political commentary.
They took time is money too
a little too seriously.
Place. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's Predestination. So, so for me, like I said, because I have had the experience I did at the time I had it, I really like the movie. I still like the movie. I enjoy rewatching it. But as someone who had fresh eyes and knew about what this was about and figured it out pretty quick, your rating, and then we'll just close it out.
5.
5 out of 10. 5 out of 10.
2.5 stars.
For me, like I said, because of my predestined presupposition, I would give it like a 7.
You like a good roller coaster ride?
7, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, 7.
I want to be clear, nothing wrong with that.
7 to a 7.5. 7.5 is kind of high. 7. I'm good at 7. And
7's fine.
7.
Which is 3.5 stars.
7 people who became their own mothers and fathers out of 10.
Ugh.
So anyways, that's Full-Time Movie Fans. Please like and subscribe. Hopefully you'll hang out with us again. If there's any movies that you would like us to review, then let us know in the comments, and hopefully we'll see you in the comment section and on future videos. For now, I hope your day's everything you dreamed to be and more.
And just to make sure everybody understands how I feel watching the end of this movie, I'm going to make sure this doesn't feel like it has a conclusive ending. So now I'm going to give you my 5 reasons why I don't think that this movie did its job. And the first one is... Hey. You look good over there.
Look real good.
Have you thought about sharing your kindness with others?
Share the love.
Maybe like the video. Click on that subscribe button. And show your friends.
Yeah, just touch it ever so lightly, that like button. Move over to the subscribe button. Maybe tap your keyboard just a little bit. Leave a comment. Bye.
That's it.